Oh, by the way, on that Hitler Nazi video, I exposed so much they cut my audio. So they cut my video, they cut my audio the second half of the video. That's how much I exposed on it. You know, when you're dealing in the so-called reality of life, a lot of stuff go over y'all head. A lot of stuff go over our head. Sort of like a fish in a fish tank. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on around the fish that he can't comprehend. So he basically just minds his business and continues to swim in his world. I think that's the same thing happening with us. We're like a fish in a fish tank. Things going wrong, things going on around us. We can't comprehend. So, for the most part, we just try to live in our own world and worry about and mind our business pretty much. But I say that to say this. Now the Pentagon is confirming UFOs are real. A Pentagon task UFO force will be speaking on it later on this week, I think. They're going to come out with some information regarding it, which we knew all along that there are, other living beings in the universe and maybe on this planet. I did videos about that. I'm going to put the link in the description to my videos. Now they're talking about UFOs. I told y'all a long time ago. I made a video about it. Hitler was building UFOs in the 30s. You know what I'm saying? Because he got the technology from a higher intelligence that's out of this world, or maybe in this world that we don't know about. The hollow earth and stuff of that nature. So, I also did a video about a long time ago, 2012, about talking about Admiral Byrd. You know, he was a captain in the Navy. He was intercepted by UFOs. He was leading an expedition in Antarctica. And they found the hollow earth. They found Agartha, but they was intercepted by UFOs. So I put both of those links in the description. This may be hard for y'all to believe, but this video, Farrakhan even talking about it. He's talking about his UFO experience. And I noticed UFOs are heavily trafficking in New York for some reason. I've seen Hebrew Israelites point out UFOs in the sky in New York. I've seen other videos. Particularly seeing Harlem seems to be having a lot of UFO activity in the sky. But New York, period. I've seen other videos in New York where there's a lot of UFO activity. They seem to follow Farrakhan everywhere he goes. Farrakhan talks about it. Elijah Muhammad talked about it. The wheel, the mother wheel. So it's like we're living in a real movie. It's like we're living in the Starship Enterprise, Star Trek. But a lot of us don't want to accept that and believe it. But Farrakhan talks about his UFO experience. Check it out.
In a tiny town in Mexico called Tepoztlan, there is a mountain on top of which is the ruins of a temple dedicated to Quetzalcoatl, the Christ figure of Central and South America. A mountain which I've climbed several times. However, On the night of September the 17th, 1985, I was carried up on that mountain in a vision with a few friends of mine. As we reached the top of the mountain, a wheel, or what you call an unidentified flying object, appeared at the side of the mountain, and I was called from the wheel to come up into the wheel. 3 metal legs appeared from the wheel, giving me the impression that it was going to land, but it never came over the mountain. Being somewhat afraid, I called to the members of my party to come with me, but a voice from the wheel spoke, saying, "Not them, just you." I was told to relax, and a beam of light came from the wheel, and I was carried up on this beam of light into the wheel. I sat next to the pilot. However, I could not see him. I could only feel his presence. As the wheel lifted off from the side of the mountain, moving at a terrific speed, I knew I was being transported to the mother wheel, or the mother plane, which is a human-built planet a half a mile by a half a mile, which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us of for over 60 years. The pilot, knowing that I was fearful of seeing this great mechanical object in the sky, maneuvered his craft in such a way that I would not see the mother plane, and then backed quickly into it and docked in a tunnel. I was escorted by the pilot to a door and admitted into a room. I shall not bother you with a description of the room, but suffice it to say that at the center of the ceiling was a speaker, and through this speaker I heard the voice of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad speaking to me as clearly as you hear my voice this morning. He spoke in short, cryptic sentences, and as he spoke, a scroll full of cursive writing rolled down in front of my eyes, but it was a projection of what was being written in my mind. As I attempted to read the cursive writing, which was in English, the scroll disappeared, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad began to speak to me again. He said, and I quote, "President Reagan has met with the Joint Chiefs of Staff to plan a war. I want you to hold a press conference in Washington, D.C., and announce their plan and say to the world that you got the information from me on the wheel," end quote. He said to me that he would not permit me to see him at that time, but he said that I had one more thing to do, and when that one more thing was done, I could come again to the wheel and I would be permitted to see him face to face. He then dismissed me, and I entered the small wheel, and the pilot, whom I still could not see, moved the craft out of the tunnel and took it up to a terrific height and maneuvered his craft that I might look down upon the mother wheel, and I saw a city in the sky. With great speed, it brought me back to earth and dropped me off near Washington, where I then proceeded into this city to make the announcement. After I awakened from the vision, it seemed to vanish from my mind. However, on the morning of September the 19th, 1985, a great earthquake struck Mexico City, and it was felt as far away as Tepoztlan, the little town where I was staying. The earthquake brought the vision forcibly to my mind, and I spoke it later that morning for the first time to my wife, Khadija Muhammad, and to Sister Taineta Muhammad in the city of Cuernavaca in Morelos, Mexico.
This was the announcement. With the wheel that the Washington Post editor was referring to in his final question. Now, as I was concluding the press conference, I warned the president and the government against their wicked plans. Please listen to this video segment.
In closing, I would like to issue a warning to the president, a warning to the government, and a warning to the people of the United States of America. If I am in your mind before you of myself, if I am in your mind a hater, an anti-Semite, a wild-eyed radical, then you have nothing to fear from my presence. For I, like those who are actually like that, will go the way that history has decreed for that kind of person. However, if I am in reality in front of you by Allah's divine will, as an extension of the divine warnings given to you from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, then be instructed that you would do well to leave me alone. You would do well. You would do well to leave the Nation of Islam alone and to cease and desist from your evil planning against the future of the black people of America and the world. For the black people of America, though despised and rejected, have now become the people of God, and he has declared that he will fight you for their liberation. The government would be wise to heed the counsel of Gamaliel in the days of Paul and the early Christians, who advised the rulers of that day with these words, quote, "And so in the present case I say to you, stay away from these men and let them alone, for if this plan or action should be of men, it will be overthrown. But if it is of God, you will not be able to overthrow it, nor them, or else you may even be found fighting against God. So it is not wise for you to plan against Allah's servants, for by so doing, America, you're planning against yourselves." This warning is for President Bush, the government, the chiefs of staff, and the wise to reflect upon, so that the unwary citizens of America may not be harmed by the consequences of the wicked machinations of the United States government. You may come against me, which you are free to do, since we have no power to stop you. But I warn you that I am backed by the power of Allah and his Christ, and the power of that wheel in which I received this announcement. And the moment you attempt to lay your hands on me, the fullness of Allah's wrath will descend upon you and upon America. And before you will be able to establish your mockery of me, if that is what you wish to do, for what was revealed to me in the wheel, you will see these wheels, or what you call UFOs, in abundance over the major cities of America. And the calamities that America is presently experiencing will increase in number and in intensity, that you might humble yourselves to the warning contained in this announcement, or be totally destroyed from the face of the earth. This is a final warning.
Is sufficient to show the presence of the wheel over Washington, D.C. I continued with my response to the Washington Post, and I said to the editorial board, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us for nearly 60 years that these planes exist. You called them unidentified flying objects. They're not that to us. They're referred to in the writings of Ezekiel the prophet as the wheel within a wheel that was seen by Ezekiel in a vision 595 years before Jesus was born. And the Washington Post reported on the front page A few years ago, a Japanese pilot, Captain Kenju Terauchi, who is not crazy, who had been flying planes for nearly 30 years, that he saw this not only on his radar, but he monitored this great wheel for nearly an hour and a half between Asia, the Bering Straits, and Alaska. And he drew a picture which the Washington Post put on the front page, comparing his 747 to this huge mother of planes. He said it looked like two huge aircraft carriers in length, which bore witness to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, because the largest aircraft carrier is about 440 yards, a quarter of a mile, and two of them together would be a half a mile. Now you may say, of course, Elijah Muhammad's dead. How could he speak to you? Since 1981, I have been saying to the world that Elijah Muhammad is not dead. He is alive. I am saying to the world that Elijah Muhammad is the Messiah that the Quran is speaking of. I am saying to the world what the Quran says of the Messiah. He escaped a death plot against him. Of course, you still may hold on to your thought, Elijah Muhammad is dead, but how could he be dead and he speak to me on the wheel? This is incredible, but remember, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told me the plans of the President of the United States of America, and told me it was in the early part of September 1985 that he met with his Joint Chiefs of Staff to plan a war. He didn't tell me who the war was against, but he told me to make known their plans and tell the world that you got it from me, Elijah Muhammad, on the wheel. In that announcement, I said the words that I was instructed to give not only to the world, but to his followers and family. He's alive. He's on the wheel. And he is with Master Farad Muhammad. And he is in power as we speak. Now, Elijah Muhammad wrote a letter to a sister about a death plot against him, and he said, quote, "If Allah had not shown me how I would escape, I would have no hope at all." The Quran bears witness. Look at these words. "And for their saying, we have killed the Messiah." Of 1985, I was in Phoenix, Arizona, preparing to make an address to the people of New York at Madison Square Garden on October the 7th. I left Phoenix on the 6th of October, and what was reported in the news was that there were 15 squadrons of 4 of these wheels, 60 of them, flying in the same direction I was traveling from southwest to northeast, and it was reported on National Public Radio out of Tucson, Arizona. The Army reported it, and the Army followed the planes, and they reported this. According to the Pima County Library of Tucson, Arizona, in their filings named UFO sightings reported in Tucson, it is written, and I quote, October 7th, 1985, Federal Aviation radar operators at Tucson International Airport reported tracking 15 groups of aircraft, at least 60 in all, as they flew from the Avra Valley area in the southwest across the city and out through Reddington Pass. In another record held by the group UFO DNA, who refer to themselves as the Encyclopedia of UFO Sightings, they recorded that on the 7th of October, 1985 at 00:15 hours, that means 15 minutes after midnight, certain police helicopter incident, airport radar detected about 60 unidentified aircraft over a 90-minute period. Dozens of witnesses also saw them. Appeared southwest, speed 288 miles per hour, 7,000 feet altitude, 15 groups of 4 objects per group. Wow. No military objects were tracked by radar. Now listen, if these wheels were traveling at 288 miles per hour, they wanted to be seen. They wanted us to see them because they travel at speeds that no supersonic jet by any country in this world has developed that can fly at the speed of these wheels. So they wanted you to see them. Traveling southwest to northeast behind the representative of the Son of Man. It was the Arizona Daily Star of Tucson that reported the sighting in its newspaper October the 9th, 1985, which reported the incident, making it known to the world. As I related these events during the interview at the Washington Post, Mr. Ben Bradley, executive editor of the Washington Post, leaned over to Donald Graham and whispered, "He knows. He knows. He knows."
This is a Fox News alert. There are new findings tonight in the search for extraterrestrial life. The New York Times reporting that a secretive Pentagon unit tasked with investigating UFO sightings is quite likely releasing some of its findings soon. And those findings could be stunning, particularly for people who have doubted the existence. The Pentagon has been conducting classified hearings on UFOs for more than a decade. We know very little about what they've found, but apparently just recovered are off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. That's a direct quote. We're not exactly sure what they mean by that, but some of it's self-evident. So it's a big story, and we are scouring through the reporting on it right now. We'll bring you much more right here tomorrow night.